injury management, and this is again from the UFC Performance Institute cross-sectional analysis. So basically, I get a lot of questions from the jiu-jitsu community as far as like, when can I return to sport, or when can I get back to training? And I'm gonna give you a few things based on the research of this UFC Performance cross-sectional analysis. So a couple of things, injuries that kind of just mentioned, injuries are part of the game. It's just, you're going to deal with injuries, whether it's mixed martial arts, grappling, just those are part of the of the reason. We're training, we're trying to get, we're trying to basically hyperextend the limbs or rotate the joints in ways they're not really meant to go, and to cause a submission. So acute injuries, again, they talk about managing with the acronym POLICE, which is protection, optimal loading, which I agree with. ICE is kind of, I think it's helpful for pain, but again, I think within 48, 72 hours of injury, it's good to use ICE to help with pain control. But some people and some research has shown that maybe it's impeding recovery. But again, I would say for pain relief, ICE is probably helpful. Then you have compression, elevation. Those are definitely great. Compression is a great way to reduce swelling or edema, and then elevation as well. And those things kind of help. Again, if you have stagnant blood in an injured area, then what's going to happen is you're going to, essentially, you're not going to get fresh blood in. It's going to maybe stagnate or decrease, how quickly you can heal up. So that's kind of something to look at. Again, pain. They're talking about pain in number 4 here. It's normal, kind of normal part of the body to kind of tell you something's going on, if you have pain with something. And then again, swelling is a normal response as well. And they talk about, swelling persistent beyond 72 hours can slow down the recovery, just because you're not getting fresh blood in there. So basically, when you're injure something, you want to see if you can move the joint, see if you have range of motion. You want to recognize any red flags, does it feel unstable, is any numbness, tingling, anything severity-wise with symptoms that maybe doesn't add up. And then again, always, I think it's just smart to consult with a physical therapist or a physician, somebody that's kind of knows the body. So right here, we're going to look at evaluating and restoring the injured joint. So number 6 here. And yeah, you want to make sure that, if you see a physical therapist, they're going to do some testing. They're going to check the joint stability. They're going to check the strength, the range of motion. Those are kind of things you're going to deal with. And then you're going to base your findings on that. You may need some further testing, based on the severity of the injury or what the therapist or the doctor finds. So one thing they talk about, if you have a strength conditioning coach, a jiu-jitsu coach, a boxing coach, or whatever, a nutritionist, you want to keep everybody in the loop on kind of recovery and how that goes. It's very important, to have a team approach to recovery. I think that's vital. Obviously, you have more minds kind of at it and trying to speed up and help your recovery, and I think it's going to be a more thorough and helpful recovery for you. So here's the question: how strong should you be to get back to training? The research shows, and this is Paul Holmes that did this this article here in the UFC Performance Institute cross-sectional analysis. Basically, before being cleared to return to sport, you can see it right here. Before being cleared, you need to make sure that you have at least 90% strength in that limb or in that injured area. So there's various amounts of testing, maybe lifting a certain amount of weight, single leg press. If it's a lower extremity, we'll do some manual muscle testing. We'll do some physical therapists will check pressure, how much pressure you can provide, how much resistance you can provide with that area in those various movements. So they look at, obviously strength and power assessments and of the uninjured limb. So whatever your side that is uninjured can do, that's 100%. That's your 100%. That's your baseline, your normal. You're going to see what your other leg or your other arm or what have you can do. And so if 90% is where you're at, then you're clear to return to training, actually getting back to even close to fighting, to competition. So things to look at, obviously, they talk about number 4 here. You want to progress in a step-by-step manner. And so, decrease the intensity, decrease the speed, decrease the variables. You don't want to, you want to account for all the variables you can, control as much as you can, have a nice controlled and return back to sport, because your body is trying to figure out what it's doing again. Your mind's trying to connect with your body, and you're trying to get these skill acquisition back, because you may have, your timing may be off and things like that. So again, start with low intensity. And they're looking at pain scale. So pain scale is 0 to 10. So they call it the visual analog scale. 0 is no pain, 10 is the worst. 10 is like the worst pain you can think of. If you're at about a 3, that's kind of the limit of when you're going through these stages of returning to sport or activity. You want to limit to about 3 out of 10. That's kind of the main thing, okay? And then when you're returning to activity, pain should subside within a few hours, should be present when waking or the following day. Soreness is different than pain. If you're sore, achy, kind of tightness, or just feel like you had a good workout, that's different than pain, like a sharp stabbing. And you can even have like aching type pain, but you kind of can distinguish between pain and soreness. Now, again, if pain persists more than 48 hours, the recommendation is, or you experience more severe pain consistently, follow up with your physician or your physical therapist. So basically, when's a time that you can actually return to drilling, technical training, some controlled, maybe very light sparring? It should be at least 75% of your previous strength and power. So you have some assessments they can do, but the injured side should be at least 75% strength of the uninjured side. So maybe if you can, say it's your elbow and you can bicep curl 20 pounds, you should be able to at least do 15 pounds with your injured bicep, if that's just an example for you there. So again, you want the sessions to be technical, progress them gradually, basically from a low to moderate intensity in a controlled environment. And then the highest, if you can see down here, stage 6 is an uncontrolled and unpredictable environment at high intensity. So you're going from a controlled, predictable, low intensity. It could be, for jiu-jitsu people, we're looking at maybe just slow moving, slow guard passing, maybe a controlled sweep where your opponent gives you the reaction you expect, and then versus like a full-on training rolling session, which would be stage 6, or full sparring session if you're an MMA fighter. Again, a couple things to touch on. The first aim in most return to sport protocols is to restore full range of motion. So you want to make sure you have full movement in that joint. Then again, once that's achieved, you want to increase your strength in that area, get that strength at least 75% to get back to some drilling, and at least 90% to get back to pretty high intense training and sparring. And again, you're going to be led by a physical therapist and also coupled with strength conditioning coach. I do that a lot. We have a guy, Joe, at the gym. So if I see an athlete that I'm trying to get their rehab, get their joint back to function and get their pain controlled, I get them to a certain point, and then I'll hand them off to a strength conditioning coach that can really get their strengthening and their lifting mechanics under good eye, and they can kind of really guide them into their proper building of the strength and recovery. So again, once acute injury symptoms are close to being resolved, the clinical markers of improvement, example, a fighter with a knee injury, with pain on bending, with reduced range of motion, can now fully bend and doesn't have pain. Those are things to consider, right? So you hurt your knee, you can't bend it very well, it's stiff, tight, painful. Once you get that full range of motion back, get that strength back, and your pain's under control, you can get to those things. So we're looking at just a quick recap to get back to drilling or controlled drilling, like stage 1. You're going to have basically, you want pain less than 3 out of 10 and at least 75% strength and power. And then to get back to actually sparring, drilling, like kind of high intensity drilling, even rolling on the mats, you're going to look at, you want full range of motion, again, pain less than 3 out of 10, and then also, so you don't want your pain to last more than 2 hours. So those are things to look at, some markers there. Hope this was helpful. I mean, lots of great content in this cross-sectional analysis. You can see just some brief numbers and just ideas and guidelines on returning to sport after injury, according to the UFC.